So this, I'm just reading this just because I think, well, like when I talk about all the things I'm reading and what I'm into and my mission or all this and that, or, I don't know, I guess this gives some historical background. The main difference between me then and me now is that then I was working hard at breaking down my own thought system, and I took it out on every thought system. I didn't know where there was, like, that thread of truth. I didn't know then that we have that divine spark. So I was even a little more, sometimes, wrathful. And, you know, I can tell I wrote it as a kid, but for a kid, I like it. And it's just, this selection is just a rambling run-on. It's like a few sentences that's pages long. Well, a few pages long. And, kind of like just a stream. And, yeah, it's kind of young, but something I like. And, what I was trying to do with this book, it was going to be called, maybe this was what I was going to at first title Heavy Metal, Reefer Madness, and the Quest for a Better Tomorrow. And then I have Part 1, Live Free or Die. And this must have been, this must have been like 2001. It's like 12 years ago maybe, or maybe 2000. Just after 9/11, I think that's when I put this together. So, and what this section is even then I was that ABBA 0110 pattern that I have when I was a kid. Because back when I was into my other stuff, I was into that, and this whole book was supposed to be... I spent a long time just working on like the form of the book, and it's this hodgepodge of like different voices and different scenarios and like different colored fonts. And the idea would be to create all these separate different narratives in different ways, and like this, what I'm about to read is like a writer writing. So like what I'm reading is what a character in my book is writing. But that character is also going to be a character in another book, so it's like a character writing about a character writing. But it's me writing about a character writing about a character writing. And that's not what the whole book's about. That's just like one little piece of it. But then like all these different narratives, those were the different parts of the pattern. Anyway, it was way too ambitious, especially for my talent. But it's a good idea if it could be executed well. It's a fabulous idea. But it just might not be mine to execute. But anyway, for a young guy, I kind of I kind of like some of it. So this is what the character's character was writing. A dream. Whoa, the world is lost in a dream. Just like those fuzzy moments of half awake and half asleep, when for a fraction of a second, or sometimes longer, one cannot discern between the dream still in the process of ending and the new day awake still in the process of emergence, from the obscurity of the mind's night into the concrete here-ness of today. The individual finds security at the end of this process, when daytime continuity resumes in the dialogic, multilogic thought-talk of its presumably unique human quality of self-parasitism. Resurrected forms of an alien past arise categorically, phonetically, with sparse formulae, so wretched and inconclusively particular these formulae as to be of little, if nothing, more than categorical sophistries themselves. Ethereal equivocations, speculations, lighter than air even, are spun and tossed into knots, and the knots entangled into a veil whose fabric bends, blows, and shifts with every wind, every mouth-born whim. Indeed, the fabric has great stock in them. Does not a flag lose its life-likeness? Does its symbol not deteriorate if the wind ceases to hold it up, dancing and show it? When we praise it, do we not forsake the wind which without would wield the flag and our very breath to mere nothing? Must we be perennially reinsured with the conflagrations of coursing symbols come life, animated not by their design or motives, but from without, sometimes from the immediate primacy of life's elements, which through years of training, teaching, and unlearning are overcome in perception by fantasies, while the difficulty of nature's recession in memoriam are surmounted, so as its lead role is denied and its character pushed to its current place as a backdrop atop which the theater of history, with all its components, steals center stage and summons our interest and attention rigorously, tells its stories with calculated connotations, volumes and inflections, promotions, deficiencies and exclusions, and then delivers precisely at the moment of climax, while on the cusp of the whole comedic drama's up until now quiet secret, its main argument, there erupts a cacophonous fanfare, a marching band circus show type spectacle dominating every sense of its audience, and then only declares emphatically across the brouhaha, "Art is life! Art is life!" When the audience asks why, it is given an answer, "Because we said so, and of course we should know, for we are artists," and historians, scientists, writers, Baptists, skinheads, mathematicians, clergy, reporters, CEOs, teachers, flag makers. The new day succeeds the last night, but the morning consciousness picks up right where it left off the day before, and does not worry about the sizable gap in continuity between then and now. Interior tongues lash about, and conversations and conversions dance in mad schisms, all correlated to the stream of history's external artifacts. This does not exclude all that language and mathematics entail. Pumped and piped by way of culture, engined by a multiplex of habituations pre-existing each one of us, a complex of such unimagined depths that I cannot fathom them existing in but a mutually shared bottomless pit. Yesterday's do more than phenomenologically reverberate within today, or perhaps it might be equivocally stated that they do less. The reality of today is immediately swept out from under as yesterday's fabrical fiction envelops people from without, regenerates from within, and thereby the self-social image, surrounded on all sides. Intolerance, acceptance, and even preference rejoices in its domination for the sake of its incursions. This dream, which we might term as an extraphysical, proto-fantastical, metaphorical, synthetic fabric, moves with such audiovisual boldness and acuity in a relativistic comparison between itself and the subtler, less opaque, and thus infinitely less perceivable or decipherable motions of nature which ultimately support it, practically disappearing altogether, invisible, that amongst all the dream's formal ripples, foldings, all the surface reifications, the superficial reorientations of arbitrary ornaments, that amongst the bedazzling light show ephemerations distorting primary forms with illusory faux texturalisms, we search within the structure of the synthesis itself for its primary cause, its philosophically browbeaten first mover, its God. Was it this thread that moved first, creating the multitude of movements thereafter? Oh wait, perhaps this is the parcel which moved first, created the first ripple, and thus instigated all the ripples thereafter, the maker, the creator of life, or the mother of... I can't read it. Yes, I believe I found the magic behind the flag's myriad movements. The real instigator of movement, the wind, is overlooked, and beyond that, from whence the wind, or winds, for aren't there many? The symbol vies for dominance, wins, and carries all the tattered, torn fabric of yesterday's beaten flags with it, so that it, the symbol, may stare us in the face at waking's first sight, and quite truly so that no day might ever belong to each one's own governance, so that no one might ever again start the day anew. I'm sorry. Did I say the world is lost in a dream? It's not the world, but people. As Wittgenstein states, the world is all that is the case, and humans are not so much as everything that is the case. Far from it, and the epistemology of human jibber-jabber even less, and yet we so often mistake knowledge for the world. Likewise, I could have said a nightmare instead of a dream, though I suppose this will not do either. A nightmare is too obvious, where the reality of our nightmare is not. To say we're caught in a spell comes closer, but that analogy leads itself to mystical, supernatural causes and presumptions as to what is, and conversely what is not, mysterious. A hypnotic trance might best describe the situation and shed light on the coaxing calls towards subservience, the execution of programmed actions, the perpetuation of beliefs and habits ascribed to and unapologetically superimposed over the real order of things as they are, so as to subvert the real in preference of artificial order. By way of fancy, the artificial order, go ahead, I dare you yourself to try to think of one which is not, is mechanically enforced by written and unwritten law, no, not capital L law, by the practitioners, that would be all of us, of the artifice, in hopes that natural order, that chaotic order beyond human reach, might catch on and follow suit in our human procession toward perceived perfections, just as the fabled mortal Pygmalion carved his Galatea from stone and was rewarded for his delirious, desirous yearnings by the goddess Venus, who transformed his statue to life. Modern culture has been supplanted with a similar myth, though not congruent. Each person plays the part of Pygmalion quite well, each carves phantasmal desires from solid earth to comply with artificial forms. Here we diverge from myth, after indulging in the ludicrous possibility of such hopes, after attaining the assurance that the forces of the universe, the gods, will manifest the so far vague and imaginary objects of desire incarnate. Unlike Pygmalion, we do not wait for Venus's touch, and here we switch characters, from Pygmalion to Geppetto. The opposition between the real statue and the desired flesh collapses. We break the stone further and reconstruct its pieces into a marionette. Pygmalion becomes his own Venus, Geppetto his own good fairy. They claim motherhood without a wound, in a dominating act of typical patriarchal jealousy, and claim for their Galatea and Pinocchio real life. Their artificial movements are ever more refined, and governing strings hidden with increasingly sophisticated devices and technologies, such that the created object image is so fine and calculated that its artificiality is never considered. Thus, in the continuing consequences of their desires, of breaching the voyeuristic gap between themselves and their fetishized objects, the sculptor and puppet maker exclaim before all, "Look, it's real, it's real!" And the audience has no reason to disbelieve them, having not witnessed the toil and inanity with which these hyperrealities were brought first into psychological supposition and then later into physical fruition. The next act is the final step in the artificial object image's metamorphosis from model to actual, or rather perceived to be actual, when the voice of another, a ventriloquist in this metaphor, speaks the part of the puppet and tells all within earshot, "I am real," and we believe it. Unlike the Pinocchio of familiar fairy tales or puppets, our puppet's nose will not grow when it tells a lie. The belief in this false reality is the form of our hypnosis. The habituations by which we propagate and thus perpetuate this belief is the form of the spell we're caught under. And the severance of our habits almost completely from reality is the form of our nightmare. Furthermore, it seems quite clear to me that our severance from reality and the ensuing nightmarish implications of that separation are the only substantial realities present in the entire multimedia dream sequence we mistake again and again for being that which it is not. I still kind of like that. But anyway, that's a part of me. That's a part of me, so, yeah, so... I still feel a lot of the same ways, but I deal with it differently than I did then. But I might do more writing like that, just because it's really, I don't know, it's fun. It comes naturally. Why not? Somebody will. I would like. I would probably like to read that. I would like to read it a little more if it was a little better.